November 1922. Howard Carter had been searching for 10 years. Then his workmen struck stone. Beneath the sand of the Valley of the Kings, sealed for more than 3,000 years, lay the undisturbed tomb of a boy pharaoh. Within weeks, the world would call it the greatest archaeological discovery in history. Within 7 years, 12 members of the expedition would be dead. Lord Carnarvon, who had funded every penny of the search, would be gone within 5 months of the opening. A cobra would kill Howard Carter's pet canary on the very day the tomb was breached, and inscribed above the entrance, some said, were words that would echo across the century: "Death shall come on swift wings to him who disturbs the peace of the king." The question that haunted the world was not whether the curse was real. The question was why so many men seemed unable to escape it. Egypt in the early 1920s was a country balanced between ancient mystery and modern ambition. The British maintained a powerful grip over the nation, even as Egyptian nationalists pushed for independence. The Valley of the Kings, a sun-scorched ravine on the west bank of the Nile near Luxor, had been the burial ground of pharaohs for 500 years during the New Kingdom period, roughly 1550 to 1070 BCE. By 1922, archaeologists had already stripped the valley of most of its secrets. Tomb after tomb had been excavated, looted in antiquity, catalogued, and closed. Most experts believed there was nothing significant left to find. Howard Carter disagreed. Carter was 57 years old, self-educated, meticulous to the point of obsession, a man who had devoted his entire adult life to the sands of Egypt. His patron, George Herbert, the 5th Earl of Carnarvon, had been funding the excavation since 1907. Carnarvon was wealthy, aristocratic, and fascinated by the ancient world, though his health had never recovered from a serious motor accident in 1901 that had left his lungs permanently weakened. He had spent years searching for something worthy of his investment. By the autumn of 1922, Carnarvon had grown impatient. He told Carter this would be the last season. If nothing was found, the funding would stop. Carter persuaded him to allow one final push in a section of the valley floor that had never been fully excavated, a patch of ground beneath the debris of workers' huts dating back to the time of Ramesses VI. On the 4th of November, a young water boy clearing sand stumbled onto a carved stone step, then another, then 12 more. A sealed staircase descended into the earth. Carter sent a telegram to Carnarvon in England. He waited for 17 agonizing days before allowing the dig to continue. Carnarvon arrived with his daughter, Lady Evelyn Herbert, on the 23rd of November. 2 days later, Carter made a small hole in the sealed door at the bottom of the stairs, held a candle to the gap, and peered inside. Carnarvon asked, "Can you see anything?" Carter's reply entered history. "Yes," he said, "wonderful things." The formal opening of the inner chamber took place in February 1923, in front of journalists and dignitaries from around the world. What they found inside defied comprehension. The tomb was packed with more than 5,000 objects: golden shrines, alabaster jars, jeweled furniture, a solid gold death mask of extraordinary beauty. Tutankhamun himself had died around 1323 BCE, aged approximately 19. He had ruled for less than a decade, a minor king by pharaonic standards, elevated to legend by the accident of his burial remaining intact. But the story that consumed the world was not the treasure. It was what happened to Lord Carnarvon. On the 5th of April 1923, 5 months after the tomb was opened, George Herbert, the 5th Earl of Carnarvon, died in a Cairo hotel. He was 57 years old. The official cause was blood poisoning, stemming from a mosquito bite that he had accidentally reopened while shaving. It was a mundane explanation for a death that felt anything but mundane. Reports swept across the world. At the precise moment of his death, the lights across Cairo failed entirely, plunging the city into darkness. Back at his English estate, Hickler Castle, his dog howled once and died. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock Holmes and a devoted believer in the supernatural, told the press that occult forces were almost certainly responsible. The phrase "Pharaoh's curse" entered everyday language overnight. The press began to count. The counting was relentless, and it was merciless. Arthur Mace, a senior archaeologist on the excavation, began suffering from exhaustion shortly after the tomb was opened. He would be dead by 1928, his health dissolving in stages that doctors struggled to explain. George J. Goode, an American financier who visited the tomb in 1923, fell ill immediately after his visit. He was dead within months. Aubrey Herbert, Lord Carnarvon's brother, died in September 1923. Hugh Evelyn White, a British scholar who had worked at the site, took his own life and left a note claiming he was, in his own words, the victim of a curse. Then came Joel Wool, a British industrialist, visited the tomb, dead within weeks. 6, then 8, then 10. Howard Carter watched each death being reported and said nothing publicly. He dismissed the curse entirely, but privately, those who knew him said he was shaken, not by superstition, by something harder to name. By the time the count reached 12, the world had stopped asking whether the deaths were coincidence. It had started asking what ancient Egypt had known that modern science had not yet caught up to. There is a brief note worth making here. If you have stayed with this story to this point, you understand exactly what this channel is built for. Stories like this one, recovered from the corners of history where textbooks rarely go, arrive here every single day. If that matters to you, subscribe, and the next one will find you tomorrow. The answer, when it eventually came, was quieter than the legend deserved, but more fascinating in its own way. In 2001, a microbiologist named Nicola Di Paolo and other researchers began examining ancient tomb environments in depth. What they found was remarkable. Sealed tombs could harbor toxic mold spores, specifically Aspergillus niger and Aspergillus flavus, capable of causing severe respiratory infections and even fatal illness in individuals with already compromised immune systems. Lord Carnarvon, with his permanently damaged lungs, would have been extraordinarily vulnerable. Several others who died had similarly weakened constitutions. A statistical analysis published in the British Medical Journal in 2002 examined the deaths of all those present at the tomb's opening. It concluded that the survival rates were not statistically different from what would be expected for men of their age and era. Of the 58 people present at various stages of the excavation, the majority lived into old age. Howard Carter himself died in 1939, 17 years after the opening, of lymphoma at the age of 64. What had killed Carnarvon and the others was not a supernatural force inscribed in stone. It was biology, probability, and the extraordinary human need to find pattern in chaos. The curse of Tutankhamun endures not because it is true, but because it reveals something true about us. We reach into the dark, and we bring back what we fear most. We stand before 3,000 years of silence and hear exactly what we have come to hear. The tomb is still there. The boy king is still inside it. And somewhere in the shadow between science and myth, the candle Howard Carter raised to that ancient darkness is still burning. History does not always arrive in the shape we expect. Sometimes it arrives as a mosquito bite, a coincidence, and a story that refuses to die. A discovery like this one waits in this archive every single day, and subscribing is simply how you make sure the next one reaches you.